Okie dokie, it is January 20th, 2025. Welcome to Scouching Live. I, of course, am your host, Will. I hope you're all doing well. For all of our American watchers, happy Martin Luther King Day or Martin Luther King Jr. Day. I don't remember if it's formally Martin Luther King Jr. Day. MLK Day. It rolls off the tongue better that
Mhm.
way. But anyway, I hope you're enjoying your MLK Day down in the States. Of course, I'm here with the illustrious producer of the program, Mr. AJ
That's a nice
Tadaro. How are you,
intro.
sir?
I'm doing all
Yes.
right, but there's something a little different about me today. And
Mm.
if anybody can guess what that is, we're gonna give away a free month of Scouching like a subscription.
Guess
So
that ailment.
yes, that's what I was calling it to Will. So if you can correctly identify what is different about me, and it is not my mic, even though that should be fixed, unlike from
Yeah.
last episode. But if you can guess it, then one free month. Subscribe to Scouching. What tier do we want to put this at? Like the top tier
Basic.
or the basic
I'd say
tier?
the basic.
Okay.
You know, you get to try it out. But yeah, AJ, yeah, there's an ailment he's dealing with, which is pretty entertaining. We also figured out your microphone setup with by figuring out what mono was and gain staging. And
I'm a
now I think we're all
terrible
set.
producer. Okay, that's
Right.
why when you say illustrious, I feel a little, you know, I don't know if it's a
I'm the
shot at
audio
me.
guy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you are
I'm
the
the
audio.
audio guy between the two of us, but it is kind of difficult to do audio troubleshooting remotely. That's a little strange, but we figured it out and now we're rocking and ready to roll.
And by the way,
But
if I
anyway,
see the correct answer, I'll let you know. So far,
yeah,
answers are wrong, but there is
those are good
something.
guesses already.
There
There are
are
good
some
guesses
great
already.
guesses. See,
Yeah.
this was my plan to drive up engagements.
Yes. Well, now you just told everyone the plan. You know, it's not much of a plan if you tell everyone the plan
Oh,
now.
but I didn't plan to forget to do something today, which caused me to be be a
Mm,
certain way. So we'll
mm.
see how it goes.
Right. We'll see how it goes. You had some fighting words also that you wanted to get
Yes,
off
yes,
your
yes,
chest off
yes.
the top of the show.
Can I swear? Because I think it'd be funny, just for
Well,
Tony.
I mean, it depends on what kind of swears we're talking about
Okay,
here.
then I'll chill. But screw you,
We're
Tony.
we're
Screw you,
PG-13 episode.
Tony.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. Yeah.
Way,
So if
let's
anyone's
go
unaware, what's the
Buffalo.
gloating for? Because
Oh,
Tony was on the show last week, and there was a little bit of a scuffle, so to speak, between those two. So what's the
the Bills beat the Ravens. Lamar
there it is.
Jackson played. He had some moments. He had some good moments and some good moments for me. And Bills won. And
I
Tony
like
was a sad boy, and I messaged him Josh Allen for MVP. He just laughed and told me it was a terrible game. We had a bit of a discussion.
I don't know anything about football, but I did really like the getup that Lamar Jackson was in to do his post game interviews.
Hmm?
It was that like that balaclava in, like for
Yeah,
athletes,
yeah.
which doing an interview in that I think is a pretty boss move, and I liked that. I don't know. I don't know anything about football. I don't know what's going on or anything. I usually tune in for the championship games, so the NFC and AFC championship, and then the Super Bowl,
Okay.
and I just kind of sit back, but when the Chiefs are the Chiefs, it's a lot less fun for me because I
Hey,
just sort of look
hey
at them and I'm
now.
like, well, they're a video game, so
Hey now. The Bills beat the Chiefs this year. That's the one loss they have. Or
okay.
maybe I think they might have had two losses.
And are they playing each other this weekend?
Yeah, the AFC Championship.
All right, okay. I don't even know who's in the AFC and NFC. That's where I'm working from here.
Okay, well, do you need me to give you the four teams that are remaining?
Well, I mean, it's Buffalo and Kansas City.
Yeah.
Uh, I know Detroit just lost
Yeah.
to. Oh boy, who was it? Oh my
I
God,
know
I
who it
don't.
is. I know who it is.
Well, of course, I imagine you do. Uh, who I don't know. Who are the other two? I don't
The
know. I
Washington
genuinely don't.
Commanders is the team that upset the Detroit
Oh, the
Lions.
Commanders, right? Oh my God. Oh,
And the other team are the Philadelphia Eagles with Saquon Barkley carrying
right.
them to through I think both games. I didn't really catch I didn't catch much of the NFC games, but I'm
What a
pretty sure
turnaround!
Saquon's been insane. So,
What a turnaround for the Washington Commanders brand, eh?
yeah.
Holy smokes! Wow, I forgot about them, but yeah, I mean the brown and yellow on they go to the NFC championship?
Yep.
NFC?
NFC
Yeah.
Championship.
Wow. Cool. Well, I guess on that note, I guess I don't know, unless you want to just talk football for the next 2 hours,
No,
because
no,
it's way more profitable to talk about football
it is,
because there's a lot more football fans.
but
Um,
we do have a hockey show to get to. So you can all drop your chat questions. Did you get
yes, we're
any
doing a Q&A today.
additional questions from
We
platforms?
did,
Okay.
yeah. We have a few from today. I believe there was also one from last week that I straight up forgot that I had asked for questions on, and someone very
Excellent.
kindly asked a question. So I guess we'll get to those first. Again, if you're unaware, this is going to be a Q&A episode, so we'll be able to go into depth on some of these. So fire away any and all questions you may or may not have. Even if you don't have questions, think of one and pop one in there. I mean,
Yep.
we'll go over whatever, you
The
know.
only thing that's off
Um,
limits is what is the answer to the AJ ailment question. I cannot
right.
tell you that. You got to answer it. So far, I have not seen the correct answer.
No, not yet. No, but maybe his behavior over the next hour or two will lead you down the right path. But anyway, before we get into the questions though, we should
Oh,
run
there
through our
it
ads.
is. There it
Again,
is. He got
oh,
it.
someone got it. Oh my
Delay J didn't
god.
take his ADHD meds. Yep. There you
Congratulations, Delay
go.
J. Like Delay J.
Yep.
Delay J is a great nickname for you, I
There you
think. That's a
go. All
that
right.
is
So
I think you had a moment here.
one free month. One free
Yeah, one
month of
free month. DM me and I'll get you a free account. It'll be a good time. Um, but anyway, I'm pretty sure I can do that. By the way, I'm like 99% sure that I can do that in the first place. So hopefully that's true. You know, hopefully we didn't just promise something that's impossible, but I'm pretty sure we
if
can do
not,
it.
I'll pay for it.
Right. Okay. Well, it's okay. We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
But yes, shoot me a DM. Congratulations, you got it. And also gave us a nickname, which is, I think, even better than guessing
That
what was
nickname was
wrong with
there.
AJ.
That nickname was there last week.
Oh, was it? Well, I missed it. So now it's legit. If I see it, it's real. And if I don't see it, then it was never said. That's the rule. But anyway, yeah, so we'll go through our quick ads before we get into the show. Again, we're brought to you by Fanatics. You can use our code in the description or the chat box, or you can scan the QR code in the video window and we'll get a small kickback on anything you buy in the shop. And that helps us out if you're going to pick anything up with your fancy Christmas money that Gam gave you or something. We're also brought to you by Puck Preps Hockey, where you can get access to all our NCAA and CHL draft coverage. I will be having something coming out on the All-American game that came out, or that was the other night, which I'm sure we can talk about too if people want to. But they haven't posted video on demand yet of that, so I haven't been able to go back and look at it. But it was a good game. It was a fun time, and some good players did some good stuff. And of course, Scouching.ca, where you can get a subscription, or if you are username Buttery Spread, get a free subscription for a month. You can check that out over there, where you'll get access to our Discord server, as well as plenty of cool data tools for drafted and undrafted prospects. And I also will say, I just updated the partners side of the website and the complete side of the website, where you'll get access to a new Tableau dashboard of track data. We've simplified it a little bit for one of the slides, where you can sort of just see summarized data on guys that really boil things down. Still tweaking the modeling on that a little bit. Still have to do some more backtracking and check things out, and make sure they're a little bit more accurate. But I'm confident enough that we're ready to present it to all of you. So that said, I think that's all of it out of the way. But again, this is a Q&A, so if you want, fire your questions in the chat and we will get to them later in the show. Okie dokie. First of all, though, we're going to get into the previous questions that people submitted before the show, and then we'll get into the ones in the chat. So we will get to you in a moment. We had a question from someone about SKA St. Petersburg, forward, center, whatever. Matvey Korotky, just for general thoughts on him. He is playing in the KHL, and I didn't realize that. And so I went and watched a game and a half of footage of him. Again, that's not a ton. But I did check him out, and I watched Korotky early in the year because he got off to a pretty hot start and he had some good size, and in general just looked like a decent option to start the year with. And I thought he was a decently well-rounded, center. He's not the typical sort of Russian high pace, high skilled, fancy pants guy, but he does, he's got some good size, he gets around the ice okay. Like he covers ice okay. He's one of those like middle of the ice anchor guys who kind of moves the puck okay. He's got a bit of physicality to him. He's an okay finisher, I would say. I wouldn't expect him to be like a huge finisher at the next level or whatever. Is he going to get drafted? Probably. I feel like he's played. He doesn't look like a needle mover in the KHL, but he doesn't look out of place either. Like he looks fine, which is kind of how I've always felt watching him. So I'm sure someone will keep him and stash him in Russia, and maybe there's something down the road. He's fine. I would say like he's on that list of guys where it's like I don't know where he would be the number one guy on my list. Um, I think it's just a guy where if I had a list of 100, he'd probably on the middle or on the tail end of it. But I don't. It's like at a certain point, I don't know where I would take him, but I could see another team absolutely drafting him and turning him into some bottom six guy. Um, we got a question, AJ. You might also be able to cover this one too, but we got a question about NHL players who never got a fair crack and deserved a better shot. Um, I'm gonna throw. I mean,
You're
the
gonna throw in Brad
meme for
Hunt, I
me is
know.
Brad Hunt. Brad Hunt deserved a better shot in the NHL, 100%. Brad, if you're listening, we want to have you on the show and talk and learn about your career. Um, I would also throw out a former Toronto Maple Leaf and Simone Gamache. That guy was 10 years ahead of his time, but every time he played in the NHL, he was pretty darn good. Uh, that was one that I also kind of wanted a better crack at. But do you have anyone in mind? Oh, Karatki was drafted by the Blues. Okay, well then there you go. I thought he was an eligible guy this year, but I was mistaken. My bad. Anyway,
Um, I don't know that I have anybody particular because I've only been like, I would say,
sentient.
well, sure, you can say that, but like paying attention to that stuff for like 5, 6 years now. So I don't
Right.
have a tremendous sample to go off of. For like 7, 8 years, but still like not enough where I feel confident. So I'll defer to you on that more so
Right.
because I was kind of a red mist child in terms of how I watched the Toronto Maple Leafs. I wanted them to hit everything as a kid. That's all I screamed.
Yeah, that sounds right.
So I've only
And
that's
most people grow up.
I've only leveled up last half a decade
Right. Got it.
or so, plus a couple of years. Don't feel
Someone in the chat mentioned Jonathan Dahlin. That's a good one. Jonathan Dahlin was the man, still is the man. He had a weird career. I'm trying to think of any other ones
I'm
along the
sure
way
David
that I've
Phillips
thought
will
about.
say that one day I'll say Fabian Lysell, but that's
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Of course.
I'm just gonna get
Um,
that out of the way before use it. Screw
yeah, I
you,
don't know. I
David.
mean, most of the time when players get like waived a bunch of times and it doesn't really work out, there's reasons behind it. I mean, I do think there are some players that, you know, like they don't score a ton, but they scored before the NHL. And so if they don't get those results, then they're not in the NHL, but they still drive good overall results, right? Like good possession numbers, right? Jesse Puljujarvi is a decent example of that, right? Jesse Puljujarvi has always been a pretty good on paper player, but the expectations offensively are so high for him that he never got there. But like I remember watching guys like Nick Patan play hockey for multiple teams,
Yeah,
Toronto and Winnipeg, and I went, yeah, like this guy on a bottom, he's 5'9" or whatever, but like on a bottom six, sure,
that was
like
kind of where my
yeah,
mind was going, but
right. But
he
that's also kind of a meme in Toronto is like, oh, Nick Patan just didn't get a chance.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, I'm trying to think of other
like
examples
there's
from
not
my
a guy that
lifetime.
I would go out and stick my neck out so far that I would die on the hill. That's kind of
Yeah,
where I'm, and I feel like with you, you die on the hill.
yes, Brad Hunt is the number one for me. I'm trying to think as well. I mean, there are also players where it's like they had flashes and then it just like Jim Carrey in the 90s. He won a Vesna trophy and then just like fell apart mentally. And it's like Jim the Net Detective was was so good for like 2 seasons and then it just kind of fell apart. Um I don't know. I mean, a good one also, I think, I don't know how much attention he actually gets, but I always really loved Cliff Ronning. He had a really long career though. Um, but then that's not really answering the question, right? Like Zygmunt Palffy, it should be in the Hall of Fame for me, but he's
Yeah,
not.
it
You
becomes.
know,
I feel
it
like a
becomes
lot
a
of the
different
guys
question.
a lot of the guys I stick my neck out are underrated guys who still
Yeah,
get
yeah,
NHL minutes, just
yeah,
not necessarily. Even with Nick Patan, it's like he played a bit. Like
yeah.
I feel like it's got to be a guy that really didn't get time.
Right. Like never made it for one reason or another. Um, but anyway, I Brad Hunt is my answer to that, and that's always going to be my answer. Uh, so someone also asked about who thrives on the penalty kill the most in the draft come the NHL. That's a good question because I also don't track penalty kill. I don't really watch penalty kill very much.
I feel like that's a very difficult question because the guys who are going to be getting those roles are the
It's
guys that are
very
going
up
to
to the
pop,
coach.
and those are the guys who are going to pop in the players 7 8 years because they're
Yeah,
going to be the everyday role players guys that
yeah.
out of it. And even then, it's like some of those players will end up being guys who necessarily picked. Difficult.
I would say like I mean, right off the bat, a guy like Michael Misa, I feel like is going to become a
Hmm?
really good penalty killer just with how smart he is and how like how much he can close gaps. Carter Bear maybe
Yeah,
could be a good penalty killer. Braden Coots could be a decent penalty killer. I think
there a
he's
defenseman in this class that
a
you feel like
defenseman.
would be good
I
at
mean,
that?
Jackson Smith maybe. I could see him being a penalty killer. Blake Fiddler, um, Radim Murtka, maybe like
You
the
know what,
big
Mirka
rangy
makes sense
guys.
because a lot of times teams don't care
Right.
about what you do. It's just are you big and can you block shot?
Yeah. Do you
Get
have
in the lane.
length? Can you block shots? And can you quickly get the puck off your stick and fire it into the other
Yeah,
end?
because at
Right.
some
Like,
level it's not about your passing ability on the
yeah.
penalty kill. It's about can you absorb puck and can you
Yeah.
then dump puck? At
Yeah. It is a thing where it's like if you don't take up much space, it is easier for teams to get through you. So that does make a difference.
least on
Um,
defense.
yeah, the dark horse out there that I really like is Quinn Beauchene, but I don't think he like to be an NHL penalty killing defenseman. I mean, it's a subset of a team's best defenseman, right? So it's like it's a pretty high bar to be an everyday NHL penalty killer. Um,
So
but it's
because it
possible.
generally speaking, like two pairs play penalty kill.
Hmm.
There's only two guys who aren't from
Right.
the
So you're saying, but then it's like any of these guys are like top four
Mhm.
on their team in defense, which, top four defensemen in the NHL are pretty hard to come by.
Yeah.
But anyway, but yeah, there are some good options there for sure. Oh, I lost the questions. There they are. Okay. What are your thoughts on? Oh, this is from Anne to Brian Stewart. What are your thoughts on Swift current defenseman Josh McGregor? Yeah, so I had him on the watch list for me for like a week and a half, and so when you asked me about him, just I went, okay, now's the time. I can't procrastinate any longer. I can't procrastinate on and Brian Stewart. So I went and watched I went and watched a little bit of him for like I don't know, a half an hour today, maybe 20 minutes, something like that. And I mean, I think again, similar to I mean, obviously Matvey Korotki is a player who's been drafted, so it doesn't matter about him, but it's that similar vibe that I got watching Korotki where it's like I could see someone taking this guy and sort of seeing what he is in a few years and developing him slowly. He goes to the AHL, he does okay cuz like I don't think I'd rank him. Like he's a pretty mobile guy, pretty shifty, walks the blue line in the offensive zone okay, uses his feet to create space and all that stuff pretty well. But I don't think his offensive game is like, which is kind of going to need to be a bit of a hallmark for him, at least based on how he plays. I don't think it's quite there where it sort of bumps him off of other players on my list that I would take before him. But he's on Central Scouting's list as a sort of later round guy, and I could see him being a later round swing that someone takes. I honestly can't say I've seen a tremendous amount of him, of course, but he's been fine. He was an interesting player. Maybe I'll take a look at him in a little bit. I have a big backlog of other players to take a look at first, but yeah, interesting one. But I don't think he was a guy that I go, okay, I'm going to put this guy on the list. Like there's been a couple of those in the last couple of weeks, and I don't think he's quite on the level of those other guys. Um, yeah, I can't believe Matvey Korotki's already been drafted, and I went at it like he wasn't. Oh boy, a quick Google search would have helped. Anyway, that closes it for the questions we got in advance, so I can close our notes. There we go. All right, so we're into the chat now. David Phillips, right off the bat, thoughts on Arseny Arkhiptsev, who I Googled is on the Belarusian junior team. I've seen this team a little bit, but I can't say I've focused on Arkhiptsev specifically, so I will go and do that at some point. He is now on the list to take a look at, so you can rest easy. I'm sure he's mid because that's your specialty. But his point production is really good relative to the rest of the team. So I can't wait to be annoyed or something. I don't know. But, you know, players have been drafted off the Belarusian under 18 team in the past that plays in the third division in Belarus. So it's not impossible, but I'll check him out at some point in the next few days. What are the odds Ike Howard wins the Hobie Baker? Oh boy, yeah, he's having. It was actually weird timing on that question because I was looking at NCAA guys last night, and I didn't realize he was leading the country in scoring, which is a very pleasant surprise for me because I really, really like Ike Howard. I've always been a huge fan of his game, and I think he's just so much fun and an electric player to watch, and just such a great, just overall, all around, just fun as heck hockey player. Um, Odds that he wins the Hobie Baker. I mean, I guess we can take a look at some of the other some of the other contenders, but I mean, I can't imagine he's not part of the conversation. Michigan State's no joke. Uh, I mean, based on what I've seen, again, just what I've seen of the NCAA, I would think that guys. Oh yeah, it might be close, but I wonder about guys like Jimmy Snuggerud taking it. Um, I mean, Jack Devine's having another really good year. He might be part of that. Um, I've really liked Cole Knuble, but I think he's a long shot for consideration. Michael Hage has had a good freshman year, but I don't think he's in that conversation. I think Ike Howard is a very reasonable chance. He's the only guy in the country at 1.5 a game, and he's doing it on Michigan State, which is pretty good. I mean, Jacob Fowler also might be a tough one to beat. Um, he's going to be tough as well as Trey Augustine. So I think it'll be a strong year for these types of players and goalies. In the NCAA, like I don't know how often they've won the Hobie Baker, but I think those two guys could also have a pretty strong claim. But I love Howard. I love how he's been playing this year, and so if it goes his way, I would be very happy. Um, Finally, I get to catch you live. Yes, welcome to the show. I recognize the profile image. Uh, AJ got his wisdom teeth removed. Did have you had your
Yeah,
wisdom teeth
of course
removed?
I have. I showed you
Oh
the
well,
photo. Don't you remember the bloated photo of me?
yes, I do remember the bloated photo. Yes, I do.
But that
Yes.
wasn't the answer to.
I had two. It wasn't, but I had two teeth removed to make room for my wisdom teeth. But I probably will have to have my wisdom teeth removed at some point.
You
But I
haven't
am a
had
30.
them removed yet?
Not yet. I haven't had to.
Wow.
Yeah, I haven't had to. But my dentist said that at some point in the future, I'm probably going to have
Not
them
that bad.
pulled
Not
out.
that bad,
I know.
really.
Yeah, I've seen it. I've seen it done to others many times, so it's not so bad.
I
You
was
recover. You know.
I think I ate chicken cutlets same day because I wasn't going. Like I have a pretty high pain tolerance. Like can deal with it a lot of the time. So no, I want good food. My mouth hurts. Anytime I couldn't put up with it, I got braces put. I wanted to put them
Oh
out immediately.
yes. Yep.
Those
Those
were the
were not fun days. Yeah.
those are the worst.
I don't know if they still do this, but this might be aging me, but when I was maybe 7 or 8, that was when they kind of knew that I was going to need braces at a certain point, but they needed to make my mouth wider to accommodate all of the teeth that were coming for me. I don't know what was wrong with my skull, but my jaw was too narrow. So they stuck a metal, they called it a butterfly, and it was this like metal bracket that went in the back of my mouth over the back of my back two teeth. And my mom had to literally take a little piece of metal and jam it into the butterfly and crank it to push my jaw open a little bit every
Wow.
day before bed. and that was annoying. It was a metal bar that ran from tooth to tooth over my tongue, and I think I had that thing for like 8 months. And when you have something for 8 months like that in your mouth when you're 7 years old, it feels like an eternity. Like
Yeah, it
it's
does.
it's ridiculous. So that was not very fun. I don't know if they do that with kids anymore, but that was 1990s orthodontics. That was
That
wild
is
times.
true. Like when you're younger, not
Yeah.
saying that I'm old because I'm 24, but time passes so much slower because you haven't had the same
Uh
amount of years.
yeah. Statistically, every day is shorter relative to the rest of your life, so it feels like it's shorter. I can't believe it's 2025. It felt like yesterday that it was 2017, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
Crazy.
I was still in high school in 2017.
Yeah, next thing you know, I'm gonna croak, you
You're gonna
know?
be
That's
40 in
just
6.
yeah, next thing you know, I'm gonna be 40.
And then when you're
Ugh,
40, I'll be 30.
yep. Imagine that.
Yeah,
Mhm,
yeah.
oof. Well,
We're getting old. But
oh,
with my
you're as old as
braces,
you feel.
my mom paid for like clear braces. Really see.
Oh, not me. Mm-mm.
Like
I
people
went
people
full
were.
metal.
I remember I came into school the next day and they're like, "Did you even get braces?" I'm like, "Yeah, they're just kind of hidden." People saw. They're
Right.
like, "Wow, okay."
Yeah, my teenagerness was, not the best, I'd say. My Yeah, they were awkward. I had an
Yeah,
awkward go there. I mean, I'm still awkward.
you
I'm
are,
still strange,
but so am
but
I.
that was weird. The my teens were not, the best.
As
But
my
anyway,
as my past nonna used to say, would say, "You had an ugly phase." She's very blunt. And
mm,
where I get it from.
right.
You went through
Well, it
your
keeps you honest,
ugly
you know?
phase.
Keeps you on your toes, keeps you honest.
Oh boy.
Okay. Do the Habs draft a right-handed defenseman or a top 6 center at this year's draft? Well, I mean, the luxury for the Habs is they already have a little bit of absolutely everything in the system right now.
Hmm.
Keep in mind they've got David Reinbacher on the way, although I see he hasn't played in so long that I don't remember which way he's a right-handed defenseman. So Reinbacher's on the way, assuming he is everything they think he is. Which I mean, I think he's a pretty good defenseman at the next level.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, a top 6 center. I mean, the Montreal Canadiens, I think their NHL team could use another center, but I
Yes.
don't think you go looking for those types of guys in the draft. Um, I don't know. I mean, they have Owen Beck on the way, but I don't think Owen Beck would be a top 6 guy. Like I'd say third or fourth line if he makes it. Um,
I think
Oliver Kapanen's pretty good. Yeah.
center is the way to go if they can. But are there
Michael
really
Hage is a center, but
like
this year, I mean,
like?
Montreal
But wait,
is not
before you
looking
go,
like a lottery team.
before we get into that, how many top six centers are there draft? You like looking at it right now? What,
I
maybe
would
four or
say,
five at most?
yeah, I would say at least two.
Issa and Hagens.
Maybe I'd say, yeah, Misa and Hagens. I think I love Cullen Potter. He just started playing center this year, and I think he could be a tremendous top 6
Okay.
center. Ben Kindle, I love. I don't know. I feel like he'll be a second or third. But other than that,
How do you feel about Roger Mc?
it's possible. Yeah, I think it's possible. He could get there. Don't see why not. Um, yeah, so yeah, 4 or 5 maybe, like between 3 and 5 with maybe a 6th as a dark horse, but it's pretty tough. And I don't know if I mean Montreal might have a shot at a Cullen Potter, but I don't
They
think
go
they'll go
that
for it.
route?
Well, I mean, seeing Cullen Potter like he's probably a late first round pick, they might be able to get him in the second round. But anyway, that's a guy who I love that I think would be a really good. I mean, him on the Montreal Canadiens as well would be tremendously exciting, especially after they trade like Arbor Xhekaj for Trevor Zegras or something in the offseason. Um, but yeah, anyway, it would be interesting. But if I'm the Habs, like you have so many young defensemen there already, uh, that and like the defensemen available this year, you're probably getting an okay player, but I don't think they're that much of an improvement on the guys that are already there, unless you're like picking Jackson Smith maybe, and even he's not a sure thing.
Or here's a thought. Maybe
Hmm.
they trade that first for a guy who maybe some
That's
other
the other
asset,
option. That makes sense.
or
Yes.
sign a
Yeah.
guy because they
Yeah.
don't have to give up.
Yeah.
Find some leaving their team off season and entice them to play spell center.
You can't just draft forever,
Oh,
you know? And so, and I think the Habs have one of the largest prospect pyramids in the entire database for me. So they've got a lot to play with. Um, they have 7 goalies that I'm tracking right now, which is
that's
kind of crazy. But anyway, I mean, at the end of the day, actually, I think one of them doesn't count anymore. But anyway, still, they have a ton of goaltenders. But at the end of the day, Montreal, like, they could go a number of different directions because they already have a lot. But if I'm them, like, I kind of go with a forward because you already have so many young defensemen and your group already is decent now. Like, you've got Hudson and Carrier and I don't know
Bully,
what's going on. Yeah, Gooley is there. And any
and
defenseman
then
you draft, you're
Reinback,
probably
and then
waiting 2 years
Reinbacher,
anyway,
right?
right? Yeah,
Like, so let's
Reinbacher
say
if he
that's your
makes
top
it,
four. A little bit.
sure. You know, maybe you add one in a trade, you know? Yeah, I would say you think about trading for something like that, if anything.
Yep. Or like I
Um,
said, free agency. Agency is a way to do things where not giving up assets, you're giving up cap space. Which is an
yeah,
asset, but I give up the cap space. Kind of
yes.
feels.
Right. Um, I think I have a good grasp on a lot of the top prospects, but I don't watch any of the Czech league. Would you mind going over your thoughts on the Czech league prospects? So that I'm assuming that doesn't mean Adam Banak. Um, okay, let me filter out the ones that I've actually, or filter in the ones that I've seen. So the 3 that I have ranked are Tomasz Galvash, who I love, and he's been very good in the games I've seen this year. Wojtek Cihasz, he was at the World Juniors. I thought he was okay, and he's a guy who I think plays well enough in a more limited role, like bottom 6, that he could, he's big and has some good range to him. He has some physicality to him that I think you could mold him into something down the road. David Rojeval is a guy that I picked up on over the Christmas break when watching him play in an international tournament, and I liked him actually quite a lot. I mean, I haven't seen enough of him to be like really sure. Same thing with Chihash, I would say. But Roosevelt at least showed like a lot of speed in his game, a lot of sort of slip pass playmaking, just a lot of really interesting stuff in his game that was sort of done at the pro level that, I always like to see. Other than that, I know there's a few others. Max Psenichka is one who I've seen a little bit of. I actually have a game of his to track again. And I kind of like him, but I'm not sure that there's an NHLer there. At least I can't say that right now. The guy that I do kind of that I am kind of intrigued by is Martin Svek, or Svech. I don't know, SVEC. So if you're a Czech person, you can correct me. But I actually saw him a couple of times in the second division in Czech, and I liked him there quite a lot actually. But he's that like undersized skilled defenseman where it's like you got to be up here to make it work, and I don't think he's quite like he's like if Thomas Galvis were like scaled down a little bit more, and I just don't think that will work, but I think he could long term be an interesting one to keep an eye on. I've also kind of liked here and there. I love the name Jaromir Perez, not a name you would think in Czech outside of Jaromir. But Mr. Perez is a guy who caught my eye early in the year. I was watching Galvis, I think, to start the year in preseason, and I was like, this guy's kind of neat, and I've kept an eye on him. And I don't think he gets drafted, but a guy that I have just on a list to keep an eye on over the next little while and see how things go. But I will take another look at Chihash and Rojeval before too long because I liked both of them to a certain extent. Rumor has it that Chicago is going to take a forward. I can't see Buffalo drafting a defenseman, and I feel like Nash needs forwards. Is Schaefer already a Shark? Yeah, Nashville. Is Schaefer already a Shark, assuming the Sharks finish get that pick? I mean,
Nashville always takes defense. Talking about.
yeah. Yeah. Okay, so I got to see actually because I don't really know where we're at. Tankathon, NHL.
But it will all
So you've got,
depend, right? Like
well, yeah.
I
I
don't
mean,
know, but I think Michael Misa would be awesome in Chicago. I think Porter Martone would be awesome in Chicago. I think Matthew Schaefer would be awesome in Chicago.
yeah.
They get or James Haggins or James Haggins. All four of them would be really, really great. And I kind of think you're not going wrong. Maybe with Martone, you're going wrong a little bit, but even then, Porter Martone is Porter Martone.
Yeah.
It's fine. And it's all going to be dependent on where exactly they draft because it is a lottery. So why don't you hit that lottery
I just
button?
simmed one.
Okay.
Buffalo. So we got Buffalo, Pittsburgh, San Jose, Chicago.
Ooh.
So we'll focus on the top four because it looks like those four guys are going interchangeably. I mean, if I'm Buffalo, I feel like it's got to be Schaefer. Um, they have the offensive tools right now. It's just they can't prevent goals to save their life. Would probably think Schaefer, and he may very well jump right into the lineup. I love him. Pittsburgh, I mean, Pittsburgh could take anybody. They don't have anything.
Michael Misa.
So Michael Misa
Like you
makes
said,
sense.
who's the guy you compare Michael Misa? Not as like a hard
Right. Like a guy who's just good at everything and gets everything and just isn't very weak at anything is Sidney Crosby.
Yeah.
Like
So
I see echoes there just of getting everything so right all the time. Um but I mean either him or Haggins, I don't really care. And then San Jose, I would say takes whoever's left of those guys, and that leaves Martone in Chicago. Like I think San Jose adding another center along with
yep.
Celebrini would be huge.
Like Hagen.
Chicago, yeah, like Hagen's there, but like the idea of Hagen setting up Connor Bedard or something, right? Like my goodness. But at this rate, there might be some like it might be Roger McQueen in Chicago, at 4. And that could be an option, I don't know. But we'll see. I mean, McQueen's coming back soon. I'll definitely be taking a look at him, but um I mean, Schaefer going to the Sharks if he's there, I think it makes a lot of sense, but there's 4 guys where I think you can make a case for all of them in some way. At least 3, I would say.
So to
Um,
answer the question, no, I don't think he's already a shark, but it's gonna be interesting. And
People are coalescing.
whatever team gets Matthew Schaefer, they're gonna love him because I got to talk with
Yeah.
him when when Tony and I did the game tape interview. That kid is full of, he is awesome, and I'm gonna spoil it to an extent because I think his answer. Tony asked him, so why should when a team asks you why should we draft you first overall, what's your answer going to be? And he said it's because I'm the best in this draft class, and I don't mean that in in a overconfident way. I just really believe in myself. Like he basically said that
Hey,
straight
fair
up,
enough.
and
Yeah.
it was really cool. And I told him afterwards, like, I love that confidence. Need more.
Yeah.
It was awesome. Really, really
Yeah.
great kid.
Yeah. I agree. Deviated septum. That's a good one. That's a good guess. Rodrigo Abelsh is in the NHL. I love this timeline. Yeah, I've always liked Rodrigo. He's always a fun guy to watch. It's a good time. AJ took edibles pre-show. Now there is an idea that we should never do, but I
Oh,
want to do.
sorry.
I'd love to do it, but I don't wanna. Both can be true.
Look, if you guys really want it and you what's a good subscriber goal you can get to? Like what's a good set?
10,000.
10K YouTube subs, or like we get to where we have, because I think we're at what, 75-ish
8,600
people on like subscribe
Oh,
like paid subscribers.
I don't know. It's pushing 100 now.
Oh, is it? Okay.
I think.
If we could get to 200, I would do
All right.
I do a high stream.
200 Scouching subscribers on the site, and we'll get there.
It
The
has to be
best
by the end of
OHL
this year. It has to be by the end of this
Yeah,
year.
yeah, true.
We gotta make this an
Um,
insane goal.
Oh boy.
Or 10K by the end of this year.
Okay. Well, let's move along
Yeah,
here. The best OHL jerseys of all time. I mean, of all time, I don't have a good memory of the old OHL jerseys, but I will say that I love the London Knights jerseys.
Yes.
Those are classics.
Yes.
Um,
That's where I lean to.
yeah, the Peterborough Petes I think have a good look too. I love that. I think it's a nice sort of retro-ish logo. It's a good Good stuff. Any barbershop jerseys, so Kingston and Ottawa, they get pluses from me, but I prefer Kingston. I think the Ottawa 67's logo is a little silly. Flint has really cool jerseys, I think, too. Like just a cool vibe. A lot of them are cool. Like a lot of them are really nice. But I definitely would go London. Um, oh, you know what? Too, I tracked a game of someone on Guelph not too long ago. It might have been Beauchene,
Okay.
but they had alternates on, black alternates, and they were like, mwah, they were beautiful. I want to Google them because they were great. Yeah, Guelph Storm alternate jersey. I Googled them. Like this should be their normal jerseys. Like it really should. Like I just think they're great. Because you know, anthropomorphic hurricanes are strange to me, or tornadoes. All right.
What, with eyes? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, anthropomorphic natural disasters is a no go to me. Like, imagine the Carolina Hurricanes had eyeballs on them.
Well,
you know?
they
It's
have
kinda
the eye
weird.
of the storm, but not
Well,
two sets
yes,
of eyes. And
but the eye of a hurricane is not literally an eyeball. You know, like it's it would be weird if it was though. Okay. Where were? Oh, there it is. Okay. As a Rangers fan, Drew Fortescue might be one of the few happy things. Please tell me he's decent. He is decent. I thought he was really good at the World Juniors, and he's one of those guys that for what he is, he's good. He goes out, he eats minutes, he can hit guys, he can move the puck decently well, he can skate pretty good. He's a solid hockey player, you know? If he makes it, he makes it. We'll see what happens.
there might be more happy things for you as a Rangers fan if the
Yeah,
Canucks
that's
pulled the
true.
trigger on JT Miller
Yeah.
going there. So
There might be
We'll
a JT
see.
Miller coming back.
And the return, the reported return, it's too low. Way too low.
Mhm.
Way too low.
So Lindgren, Hedel, and a conditional first round
if
pick.
you can get away with that, that's awesome for the Rangers.
We'll see what happens. Who could be fun. Cole Hudson over or under his brother. I mean under. I think Cole Hudson is like, they're different. They're different styles of player. They accomplish similar goals, but they're different. I think there are things that Cole does that will help him in the NHL if he gets there. And I think there are things that Lane does that really make him special in the NHL. But Cole is a lot more straightforward, sort of northbound offensive defenseman style of guy. But I think the way Hudson uses his skill and skating ability is just a little bit unique and a little bit more special, which kind of puts him ahead for me a little bit. I watched a video yesterday comparing Ben Kindle to Nick Suzuki yesterday. Do you see the similarity? Yeah, I do. I really think Ben Kindle could be a really, 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 really good 200-foot guy that you just always want on the ice. Just a really good player. I love Ben Kindle. I went and tracked another game of him, I think, over the last week since the last Monday night show. Let me check that. Yes, I did. So Thursday, I think. And he was great again. Like he started a little slow in that game, but once he got moving and got his feet moving, he was just another automatic scoring chance generating monster of a hockey player. Okay, how about a rapid fire thought on Hayden Papanekis, Alexander Zhuravsky, Daniil Skvortsov, and Roman Bausov? Oh, Brian. Hello. And Brian, sorry. I mean, Hayden Papanekis just got traded in I believe it was the Ander Crystal trade. And I watched him a couple of times earlier in the year, and I think he'll get drafted just because of the tools and the the combination of the skill level and the size. And he's a pretty decent fluid skater as well. I like the tools, right? When I tracked him and saw games of him and everything, I wondered about the actual IQ level and sort of the role he would play in the NHL. Like he wasn't the most physical guy. He wasn't the most daring, confident, creative offensive player either, but he had, I think if you had the right coaches around him and everything, I feel like he could really sort of discover a side to his game that isn't there yet. So I'm curious about him, and I'm overdue for taking another look. Zhuravsky, I love. I love Alexander Zhuravsky. I think it's always a little risky drafting a skilled Russian out of the Eastern Division of Russian hockey, junior hockey, that is. But I really love the skill level. He's a ton of fun to watch. Really creative playmaker, has a really good shot that in my viewings he hasn't used as much as he should. There's a lot to love about a guy like Jarobsky, especially for a rookie in that league. Like he played in the NMHL last year, which is the junior, like the minor league for the junior league in Russia. And he was really good there too. I think he was the best D-1 player in that league in terms of point production by quite a wide margin. So we'll see what happens, but he's a guy I always love going back and checking up on. Skvortsov, I think, is one of the more understatedly good defensive defensemen this year. Like he has some offensive tools. He can skate okay. You know, he moves around pretty well for a guy his size, which I like. I just moving the puck is a bit of a question mark for me with him right now, especially like through his passing. And like he's one of those guys that certainly likes to get involved defensively, but doesn't really come out on the winning end enough. But he's very tactical and smart about how he plays defensively in terms of like gap control and stick checking. And you know, when he commits to body checks, it's usually at the right time. It's just finishing those checks and gaining possession back is a bit of an issue, and they kind of get through him and find the way through the layer of defense that he puts there. So we'll see what happens with him. And Bausov, I mean, I've gone all over the place with Bausov. There are some moments where I think he is a very, very interesting long-term bet. And then there are other moments where I'm going, I don't know if he's ever going to get there. Like he's a very boring player. He's very tall, extremely lanky, got some skill to him as well. I think he's a really just safe, simple, crisp passer, but doesn't really have a brand. Like he's not a very physical guy. He covers ice really well though, and there's a lot of interesting tools. So similar to Papanekis, there's like things I like about him, and I have Bausov ranked because the tools are really fun and you don't come across guys that tall who skate that well. There's a few guys in this draft who are like 6'5", 6'6" defensemen who can actually skate really well, get around the ice. Simon Wang. I just did a game of Sean Barnhill today. He was one of those guys. You got Bausov. There's a few of them. Jackson Smith even is a pretty big boy. He can really skate. So yeah, Bausov is an interesting player. I've seen him a bunch of times because he started playing in August, and I liked him right away, but I don't know what he is, right? And I don't know what he would be in 5, 6, 7 years. I mean, I think he'll get drafted. He should. But
Oh,
he's a long-term bet.
oh, future Brad Living draft pick is what you're saying?
Maybe. And if
Completely
Toronto
boring
does
and
pick him,
safe.
yeah, I mean, if Toronto picks him, I can totally see him being an interesting bet. But did they draft anyone in Russia last year? Yes, they did. They drafted what's his name? Alexander Plasovsky or whatever his name is. Anyway. Oh, here's a good question. Does Caleb Desnoyers sneak into the top 5? I think that would be a big reach, but I don't think it's impossible. Like my top 5 is Schaefer, Misa, Hagens, Eklund, Martone. He's not cracking that list for me. Like I don't really think as much of Caleb Desnoyers as a lot of other people seem to. I've seen him a bunch because it's one of those things where I hear other people talk about him, and then I'm like, well, I don't know if I see that, so I'm going to go check. And then I go check, and then I go, all right, I think I'm comfortable with my read on him. And then I hear more people talk about him, and I'm going, well, maybe I don't know. So I check him out, and then I go, okay, it's getting to the point where I kind of am like, I think what I think about him, it's less than what other people think. He's going to go before I would take him. If someone wants to take him top 10, or top 5, I'd be more than happy to take like a Victor Eklund instead, right? Sure. But I think it's possible if he goes to the under 18s and has a strong tournament there. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think it's possible. Hot take: Michael Misa goes first. I mean, I don't think that's a hot take. I think it's entirely possible. I mean, Schaefer, things have been coalescing around Matt Schaefer based on what I've been able to track. More and more people are just kind of locking him in at number 1. I mean, for me, it's a 3-man tier at the top right now of Schaefer, Misa, Hagens, and 2 guys are really knocking on that door. So you could make an argument for Misa, I think, at 1, but you could also make an argument for Schaefer or Hagens. Like this might be one of the genuinely closest draft years. Maybe 2021 was really close for me, like the other Eklund and Beniers. But this year, like it's a really strong sort of top group that I don't really know how to make heads or tails of right now. General thoughts on development of Swedish prospects that aren't the top tier and bounce around J20, SHL, and Allsvenskan. I mean, I have no real problem with that so long as they're being loaned out or moved into a situation where they'll play. That's the thing that I love about the European system is like you're not stuck in a specific level. You can sort of go where you're comfortable. And if you're uncomfortable, teams will generally accommodate you in some way rather than just like bench you and forget about you. So I like seeing that. I also as an evaluator love to see it because I get to see different different not only camera angles but like different surroundings for the player and an easier environment versus a more difficult environment. Like Herman Truff is a great example of that last year. He played at all three levels, and I thought he showed very different parts of his game at all three of those levels, and they were all impressive. And in the SHL, arguably, was the most impressive because you saw the sort of physical tools that he has that will lead into future success, in my opinion. So it helps. I think you know. I think it's a good thing. I enjoy following along with it because I could like Eric Nilsson, for example. I love him. But I watched him in Hockey Allsvenskan and I go, okay, like he's good. I think he could play in this league. I think he could belong here. But I think there's still a bit of a ways to go in terms of like being a really, play controlling dominant offensive player more often than he is. And so I'd probably leave him in junior hockey for a little while longer and let him just play minutes and minutes and minutes and minutes and become what I think he could be and fill out physically. So I think it's a good thing in general. It's good as an evaluator, and I think it's good for the players. Um, Carter Bear top 8. I mean, he's in my top 8. I would love to see him in that range. I love him. I think he's a great player. I think he projects really well to the NHL. He's got tons going for him, both physically, tools wise, tons that I like. Does Misa have to score 2 goals a game to be ranked first overall? No, actually, he's got to score 3. And Matthew Schaefer needs to break the other collarbone probably to miss the rest of the season, and maybe Michael Misa gets there. I mean, I don't know. I think I mean, Schaefer probably is at the under 18s unless he takes it off to rest or something. Misa maybe not because Saginaw might be a pretty good team this year in the OHL playoffs, so he might be stuck playing with them rather than Canada, and that might give Schaefer a leg up. Again, people value the under 18s. Like they watch it and they go to it and they see the guys play, and those are the guys that stick in their mind. And the ones that aren't there, like it or not, a lot of the time they get sort of not forgotten, but left off lists and stuff, or deprioritized, so to speak. Which goalies have you watched recently, and who do you like for goaltenders? So yeah, David Phillips, hello. I haven't actually watched a ton of goalies lately. I did another tour of some of them. The one I like the most is Andrianov. I think Andrianov is really really good. I would happily like he's on my short list for the second round if he's there at the end of the second round. I mean, there's no goalies in my system if I'm doing my team scouting thing, and I would trust him. I think especially with how many times I've drafted other types of players over the last few years or added those types of players to my list. But if like an Eric Nilsson or a Cullen Potter is there, then I am, but I don't think those guys will be there at this point. Maybe Nilsson, maybe not, but it might be Andrianov. Maybe. I don't know. But other than that, I mean, there hasn't been a ton of goalies that I've seen this year, a tremendous amount of. I'm just looking at my list now. Your suggestion of Henriquez, he's been pretty good when I've seen him. I checked him out a little bit. Ivan Kovic, I want to believe in him. I know he's a little smaller, but so is Andrianov. The numbers look really good for guys like Cam Hendrickson. There's a D+3 goaltender in Finland that I really like who plays for the team that markets themselves as Santa Claus's hockey team in the Arctic Circle.
That's awesome.
E2 Hipia, but he's 5'11", so that's probably not going to work. But I've liked him. I checked him out. He's on an awful team. They have he has 5 wins in 26 games this year, but I thought he looked pretty decent, and his numbers look really good. And he faces one of the hardest workloads out of any goaltender on my list here. Lucas
Santa's
Beckman,
goalie,
I like
so
too.
it doesn't matter.
Yeah, he's Santa's goaltender. Medvedev in London is also kind of good. Like I like Alexei Medvedev. I might get him in the draft maybe if Andrianov is gone. But I also have to take more of a look at him. But he's on the list for me to take a look at. Thoughts on Ashton Schultz? I mean, I actually watched him again. Like, I don't know if people are spying on me, but I watched him last night. I mean, I think he'll be a good college player. He's got some decent pace in his game. He's got some skill. I saw him score a couple of goals as well, and that looked fine. Like, he looks like a good USHL player right now. And I think he could. I just, again, it's like, when is he the best player on my list? I don't know. I don't think that will happen. But I like him. I remember watching him last year and really liking him on that high school team that was just stocked full of players. Um, so I was excited to watch him this year with Chicago, and I think he's been solid with them. He's been good. But again, like, when is he the best player on my list? I'm not sure. Does Will Horkoff sneak into the first round because of his NCAA rise? I mean, I don't know. I've seen Horkoff a bunch. I actually have a game of his in college to track, and so I'll get to that soon. But after seeing him at the NTDP a few times this year, I didn't think he was a first round pick, but like, maybe second or third round, I could see it happening. He's got good size. He's got decent skill for a big boy. I also prefer Will Bell as one of the big guys on the NTDP, and I just think Will Bell is great and exactly the type of just piece of trash animal that I love and would love to have on my team. And I mean that respectfully. Like, he's a guy who can just run you over and laugh in your face about it, which I love. Um, but I mean, yeah, I'll take another look at Horkoff, and I will see. How high in the draft is too high for Radim Murtka? It's a good question.
All right, let me throw
I
out a
mean,
range for you. You can
yes,
tell me. 8. That too high?
probably.
How about 12?
I would start thinking about it there.
Okay.
I'd say, like, earlier than 15, I kind of go, you're taking a risk, but I get it. Like, I like Cam Reed and Blake Fiddler more. Um, and like, if Jackson Smith is off the board for me, I think Murtka's a decent option. I mean, he's been very, very productive since joining the Thunderbirds. And I like Murtka. Like, he's in my third tier of guys, and I'd say, yeah, as if the teens were underway and I was in a group of 5 guys and 4 of them wanted him at 12 and I was the one that didn't, I probably would relent and go, yeah, you know what? Fine, let's do it. He's good. He's got a lot of potential. Let's see where it goes. Um, Carter Bear or Michael Bronseg Newgard? I mean, probably Carter Bear. That's a tough call, though. I really like Bronseg Newgard, but Bear has like finishing ability and skill that I just don't think Bronseg Newgard quite has. But Bronseg Newgard is more, I'd say, like, physically developed and just a better like physical player right now. But Bear just has like pace and energy in his game that I don't think Bronseg Newgard quite has right now. Um, what did you think of the Survivor finale? Oh,
I
here we
liked
go.
it.
This is a good one. I loved this season. Honestly, one of the
Mm-hmm.
GOAT seasons. One of the GOAT seasons. It's up there for me with like Pearl Islands. It's up
Excellent
there for
winner as
me.
well.
Yeah, excellent winner. One of the best players of all time. One of the best arcs. It was great. Wire to wire. The only thing I didn't like about the finale was the fire challenge, but there was nothing anyone could have done about that. It wasn't the show's fault.
Really?
Uh, I mean, it was like, come on, like, what else did they have to do? It was
No, but
so
it was
lopsided.
no,
But then the wind,
no, it wasn't. The fire challenge was great because Sam made a huge comeback in the fire challenge. Like, it looked like he
right,
was dead.
right. But it was like the weather that did it, right? Like, it was a little. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It was great, regardless. The episode was awesome.
You know what I don't like? All the pointless journeys that they go on. Why do they do
Yeah, that's a little weird.
that?
There
What?
is a lot of them. There's a lot of them. But I mean, whatever. I do think, though, like, going to 90-minute episodes has been the best decision they've made in a long time.
Yeah.
I just, like, it really felt for a little while there like they were jamming too much game into an hour. And so now it's like, you can have some of those fun game like things, but also it's about the people, it's the stories about the people and how they interact and who hates who and who, whatever.
Yeah,
It's,
Sue hating Kyle.
Yeah, Sue hating everybody
No,
who
but
says
Kyle.
anything. Yeah, Kyle
Specifically
specifically.
Kyle. It's like
Yeah, just Kyle.
he's
Like, oh, he loves his
yeah,
family.
he loves his
Ugh.
family. I hate him.
All he does is talk about how much he loves his kids. It's like, oh no.
Yeah. But like, I don't know. I'd like to see a different location.
Yeah,
It definitely feels like
Greenland.
Survivor is budgets
Well,
and
yeah. It is less of an adventure, I think. It's more of a game show and less of an adventure show, in my view.
Mhm. But I have
Um,
not watched The Traders. I'm just a
I
Survivor
dude,
guy.
dude, we watched the Traders between Survivor seasons last year. We actually have the second season ready to go. It's awesome. It is so good. I love it. I don't know if you know the premise, but it's
I have
great.
I think I have a very basic premise, but if you
Right.
want to fill people in,
So
go ahead.
all these people live in a castle with Alan Cumming, who is hilarious in that show. I love that guy. And he's the host with the thickest and best Scottish accent you've ever heard. And he secretly selects three people in the house to be traitors. And every episode, the traitors choose someone in the house to quote unquote kill. They get kicked out of the house. But nobody knows who did it or who the traitors are or anything. They just wake up for breakfast and someone's not there. And it just goes like that until the end. And then at the end, um, if there is a traitor left at the end, and they say like if a traitor makes it all the way to the end, they get if with the with two other finalists, they get the money. And then so anyway, the point is like it gives you the opportunity to steal money from like lots of money from people right at the end if you really want to. And it's great. It was really the first season rocked. With some Survivor alumni on there.
Yeah, and there's more Survivor alum.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tony
So we're gonna start
Vlachos, I
season
think,
two this
is
week
on
probably.
season 4.
Oh, is he?
Yeah,
Nice.
I think Boston Rob's on.
Yeah, he
He might
is.
even be.
Yeah. I think he's on this one, the newest one. I could
Yeah.
be
So
wrong though.
there's a ton of crossover. Also a CV.
Yeah. Right. And Deal or No Deal Island, we saw the first season, didn't see the second. It kind of got old for me, kind of quick, honestly. Like, I don't know. I kind of liked it, but it just got kind of like tired and everybody was kind of really awful to each other, like in a not very fun for TV way. Um, but I mean, I thought the game was kind of cool and there was lots of money up for grabs, which is also kind of cool. But yeah, it wasn't quite my style. Definitely more all about the traders. What should the Flyers go after in the upcoming draft? Well, the Flyers are doing like okay, aren't they this season? Yeah, they have in
They're
the
up in there.
tankathon I ran, they have the 11th pick. So if I'm the Flyers, I mean, there's a number of different directions you could go. It's really hard to say. If Victor Eklund is there, that would be a great. Oh, geez, sorry, I have the Amazon Prime game going, and William Nylander just ripped an absolute missile.
Let's go.
Unreal. But yeah, if Victor Eklund is there, I would consider it for him. Consider it for Philadelphia. I mean, I'm a big Colin Potter guy, but I feel like at 11, people would kind of raise an eyebrow. But I think he would be really interesting there.
It's also really like I know I
Yeah,
say
it's
this a
really
lot, but
tough.
it's really tough to determine like exactly what you get in situations. There's like so much time left, and also the draft's weird. Like Roger
Yes, it
McQueen
is.
could go at 4, possibly, and you don't
Yep.
know who's gonna be the Beckett Seneke, who's gonna rise, who's gonna be the
Yep.
Cutter Gauthier of this. Right? In Philly, what Cutter? No, oh, yeah, they did.
Yeah. Yeah, they did. We don't need to talk about that, but they did.
What would I target if I'm Philly? Getting more forwards, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, like I mean, they have some good forwards in the system, but
They do, but also like the defense group bad. Like Drysdale,
oh,
Cam York, future solid. So I
that's okay.
just as long as Jamie Drysdale can stay healthy, he's really good. I really like
Right.
Jamie Drysdale. Like Travis Sanheim as well. Not the youngest guy. He's also not old.
Greg Revak is a big fan of Emil Andre. He texts me like once a week to remind me of how much he likes him and how much I thought he was kind of meh. But so apparently Emil Andre is okay. But But anyway, yeah, no, I mean, yeah, I think they could go any number of different directions. I mean, if I'm thinking like if I'm a Philadelphia person and I want like a Flyers style, like Denver Barkey style, just pesky jerk, like if Carter Bear is there, I think that would be a really good option.
Absolutely.
Jackson Smith could be a really good option. Um, Maybe a Malcolm Spence as well could be a really good flyer, someone like that. Victor Eklund, I think if you like your Travis Konechny's, I think you could like Victor Eklund. Still a Kenta Izaguai fan. Absolutely. I will never not be a Kenta Izaguai fan. That guy is a rock star. I love that kid. I don't know. I just always have. I'm glad he's turned out to be a pretty good junior hockey player, and we'll see where he goes from here. Pretty sure many scouts will still have Hagen's number one, but some scouts have Misa or Martone. Hagen's is not a 10 out of no, he's not a lock at first at all. I mean, most people now have Schaefer at one.
Like your name.
Um
Cool. Fredo? No,
yeah,
I'm
Fredo.
not biased as another
Yeah,
Alfredo. Not
not
biased.
at all. When you look back at your own scouting, do you ever evaluate yourself? For example, in the past, I thought you overvalued transitional play, but I don't think you do anymore. How do you scout? Good question. I mean, I
How
I
do you evaluate
do.
yourself? You take swings on guys using picks. Like that's kind
Yeah,
of
I
what you
put my
do.
name next to guys that if I were an NHL team, if I ran the world, they would be guys I pick. And right now, I mean, I mean, obviously, admittedly, it's a model that I developed, but looking at all the prospects league wide and just the guys that I have in my system, overall, when you scale for production and position and the leagues they play in and everything, and then sort of look at the overall quality of the league strength on average of the team's pipeline, I'm sitting second in the league. Right now, it's Seattle's the only team doing better than me. And right now, since I used Toronto's picks, Toronto's sitting 27th. Um, so it's going okay, in general. I mean, there have been some duds for me for sure,
Hmm?
but there have been quite a lot of really good ones in last year's draft. Like I got Kieran Walton and Topias Hunanen, who's having a really good year, and Luke Misa, who's also having a really good year. Teddy Stiga's heating up as the year goes on, and obviously gold medal winning goal. You can't complain about that. Ludwig Johnson is one of the most productive D+1 Swiss guys in the top division there now. Daniel Niemanen as well for the Liga. Like last year's draft class for me so far has been really good for me, and so we'll see what happens. But yeah, I mean, I evaluate myself all the time. In the past, I think one thing I've really learned is that like obviously I still think here's an example, okay? Like I watched Sean Barnhill today, right? Sean Barnhill 6'5", 6'6". I really liked him. I thought that was a guy who I saw at the All-American game and I went, okay, I should take another look at this guy because he's playing really well. And I love the size, I love the skating ability, I love all this and all that. And I watched him and I went, yeah, like I think there's something here, right? And if it's like the second or third round, yeah, I would definitely really consider taking a swing on the big boy and who can skate. And he absolutely flattened a guy with a clean hit, and it was great. But it's like if he goes like 35th overall, there's gonna be guys that I would rather have at that slot who would probably go a lot later, right? Like I've really come to like Michael Sverchek, a Slovak guy playing in the SHL now, and I've really loved him playing there. And I think I would very easily take him or a guy like Gustav Hillstrom at that pick instead of a Barnhill. But those guys, at least Sverchek is smaller. He's smaller than Barnhill. So I end up with a lot of small guys because other teams sort of jump the line and draft these bigger guys that I do genuinely like. Like Kieran Walton was a bit of an exception, honestly. He was
Mhm.
available really late. So for me, I think part of me is also like thinking, okay, my bar for these like undersized sort of speedy skill guys, the bar is a lot higher than it was for me. That's number one. And number two, I think I've learned a lot about like the value of like range on a player. Not necessarily like speed or pace or anything, but like their ability to just get around the ice, cover ground, use their length, use reach. I'm not saying like I need guys who are big and heavy and physical, but it's a bonus. Um, and so the thing that happens is that for me, a lot of the guys that slip in the draft are these, undersized players or flying under the radar for one reason or another, right? Like Ludwig Johnson's a great one, right? Like there probably was no other human being on the planet who was watching Leon Mugli at the beginning of last season in the Swiss Junior League and going, this other guy looks pretty good too, but he has like 10 points in 20 games. So like, what's the deal here? And then you watch more and more of them, and I'm going, well, there's almost something here, but it's not there yet, and I can see something. And then next thing you know, he goes undrafted, but I liked him, and next thing you know, he's in the National League, like doing really well. And so it's like if nobody else has him on the radar, and I sort of take a swing on him, it's like, I mean, to me, a lot of the guys that slip under the through the cracks or everything are just guys that, you know, I mean, I like to turn over rocks. You know, I like to sort of think outside the box and turn over rocks and all that stuff. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. Um, so I guess for me, it's like I just sort of think a little bit more about the big picture and like and thinking about seeing more of the NHL as well. Like watching more of the NHL, what that level of hockey is like, especially in the playoffs, has kind of shifted the way I see things. Like there's a lot of skill guys that I think I'm cooler on now than I was a few years ago or would have been a few years ago. Um, in terms of you thinking that I overanalyzed or overvalued transition play, I think it's still extraordinarily important. Like I still think that that is a enormous part of the game. Like I think Sheldon Keefe even went so far as to say the game of hockey is won and lost in the neutral zone, which I believe fully.
I would
Like
agree with that as well.
like I think that if you can control the transition of the game and you have guys that can block guys across blue lines and carry pucks across blue lines and, you know, establish possession and everything, then the rest is a bonus. Like the rest is, you obviously have to score,
Or
right?
stop guys from establishing.
Yeah,
I
or
miss
that.
you, Timmy. I miss you so much. Why?
Well, there's that. But yeah, I mean, I guess to answer your question, because we've been going on for a while, I always evaluate myself. It's like I'm always looking at the guys that are on my list that I would have picked and keeping track of them over the years and going, okay, this guy is working because of this. This guy's working because of this. Like I think a big thing that I've also learned is that um the level of play in some leagues is a lot worse than I thought it was. And elevating guys to higher levels, you kind of see the holes there. Like I'm mostly talking about like the eastern area of Russia. Like I think a lot better of it than it actually is. And when those guys get up to higher levels, it's a little bit more of a grind and a little bit faster than I think it was. And that's something that I'm always trying to keep in mind. Like Alexander Zhuravsky is a really good example. I really love him, but I wouldn't put him in my first round, even though the skill level I think is really, really high end and creativity is great. It's just I haven't seen him tested at all, really.
Alrighty. So do
Um,
you wanna
yeah,
pick up the pace a little bit on
yeah,
these?
yeah, 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 yeah.
Go.
Yeah. Matt Savoy has 27 points in the AHL in 35 games and just turned 21. Am I crazy to think he still has top six upside? I mean,
I think he does.
I think he does. It's just he's gonna need to be able to fend off physical pressure in the NHL. I think, and like, I think it's possible. I feel like that's a player that we should do a video room on at some point because
Sure.
I'm very curious. But he's I mean, he's been productive. He started off not very productive, so he's had a pretty strong second 2/3 of the season so far.
One of my boys
Um,
in terms of
yeah, I mean,
guys I championed.
I want him to be an NHL player.
I think he will
Um,
be. I think he definitely will. Just is he Nick Robertson?
right. Yeah, that's the thing.
And if he's Nick Robertson, great. But
Yeah, great.
or is he more?
Um,
I'm hoping he's a
yeah,
little bit more.
yeah. Someone mentions Garrett Shifsky. I mean, I don't know why, but I think Garrett Shifsky is a really good college player. I've really liked him. He's always been in my back pocket. I've been thinking about Shifsky since he was draft eligible. I didn't have him ranked, but I thought always like in my back pocket, I'll keep him in mind. And he's had a good college career. So I'm a big fan of Shifsky, but I think that was in reference to the Hobie Baker. I don't think he's in that conversation. Yes, indeed, the top five is a mixing pot. Yes, I agree. Um, yeah, Schaefer would be number one if he didn't get injured. I mean, he injured his collarbone. I feel like that shouldn't affect where you put him. For me, I mean, he's going to come back just fine from a collarbone and a collarbone break, if any competent doctor is dealing with him. Um, Someone mentions Josh Hosang as a player that didn't get a fair shake. I do think that in a different environment, the world goes a bit differently for Josh Hosang, but there is a bit of truth to a lot of the things people were maybe putting out there about him. But I do think it was a little bit overstated and a little bit much. But I remember watching him at the Toronto Marlies one year. I went to a game in Toronto and I was like, God, this guy, it's like Arthur Kaliev kind of vibes where you watch him and you're just like, God, this guy could be really something. This guy could be a heck of a player, but it just hasn't come together. It just hasn't, and he's like slow for line changes. He's back checking slow. He's not really. But then when there's a free puck and a loose puck in the neutral zone, he's gone. Right? Like if there's offense, he's gone and he takes over. And I feel like to a lot of coaches, they kind of go, can I put you over the boards in an NHL game and keep my job, right?
Mhm.
That's kind of the focus. Um, Taro Hirose and Linus Omark are two other ones that popped up. I don't know nearly enough about those guys.
Oh,
Michelle
Josh.
Oulet,
Oh, Josh
yeah, Josh
Levo.
Levo.
That's a good
That's
one.
that's a good one.
That's a good
Yeah,
one. I
Josh
like
Levo
Josh
was a good
Levo.
player.
I like Josh Levo.
Um,
Toronto.
oh, Michelle Oulet is a good one too. That is a deep cut, but I remember him, and he had a pretty decent little run there. That's
Josh
pretty
Levo kind
funny.
of bounced
He did.
Canadian team. On
Yep.
Calgary.
Yeah. How do you feel about the difference between mock drafts and draft rankings? Is it hard to keep your rankings from being biased to what you think will happen? I I think the answer to that has been increasingly no every year.
Hmm?
I frankly I don't care about mock drafts. I begrudgingly do one of my own at the end of every season. I really don't like doing them.
But it's fun.
It
Fun
is
to do.
fun.
It's fun to
I'm
do
not.
it.
It's fun, but I don't like doing them. Um, which I guess I mean it's like bungee jumping is fun, but I don't like doing it. Um,
Well,
but anyway,
no, but
it's
fun is subjective.
right.
I feel like mock draft is interesting to do. It's like, okay, this is not my opinion of where I take where, but this is where I think players will.
Right.
So I think
For me, I do both.
I think the most frustrating thing is when people don't differentiate what a mock draft and your actual draft
Yes.
rankings are. That's
That
the
is
most
where
frustrating thing to me. Like,
Yes.
okay, is this what you think, or is this where you think they'll land?
Right. Right. I mean, but for me, I honestly every year I care less and less about what other people think or write or do.
I try and
Like,
tell them every year, Will, just be more
yeah.
confident in yourself. Just do it. Just pull the
Well, it
trigger
isn't
on
even
it.
it isn't even just a matter of confidence. It's just a matter of like, yeah, I get it's like trusting myself. Like it's just like I've done the work and I gotta make my bed and come down on something.
Hmm?
And I mean, at the end of the day, like when I have a gut feeling about something that is quite at odds with the marketplace, generally I feel like I'm correcter than not a lot. I don't know. I'd have to go back and check.
I
But,
think more
you know,
recently,
like
especially with certain
right, like
players, like even Jack Quinn, like you
right.
were definitely not as high on Jack Quinn. You had him and JJ Paterka ranked back to back,
Yes.
and I think JJ is very clearly the better player in Buffalo. They're in the same
Yeah.
environment.
Yeah. Paterka I loved. I remember loving Paterka. But anyway, I guess what I'm saying is like I don't really think about it so much anymore. I mean, I hear a lot. The thing that kind of did it for me was like you look at the NHL draft and you think about all the times that things have happened in the time since the draft that if it was suggested at the time of the draft, people would have lost their minds. They would think you're a moron, right? Like if you sat there going like, I don't think Capo Caco's going to be, I don't think he's going to have a ton of success in the NHL. Like people would go, what are you talking about? Like there's a chance he could go first overall, right? Like and it was like the whole Joaquin Kamel thing a couple of years ago, early in the year. People were putting him at like number one, and I'm sitting there, I'm watching him play, and I'm just like, I don't get it. And I just, I would be acquiescing to people by putting him where I thought he belonged. So that's why I kind of do things like have Colby Barlow in the 40s now, where I'm like, that's where I would take him. I mean, if you want to take him at 17 or whatever it is that he went at, then be my guest. But I just have other guys ahead of him, and I feel like there's more to like. And that to me, I remember people messaging me about that specific one and going like, "Are you sure?" Like, guys, the NHL is gonna love that guy, right? And I'm going, I don't,
Can love them all they
that's not the
want.
question. That's not the question I'm answering, right? Like, I'm not here trying to answer like who are the NHL guys gonna play, right? Like, because sometimes they're wrong. Like, I don't know.
Yes,
Um,
it's
but
why certain
regardless,
guys get more opportunities than others when they don't deserve it. OEL over Timothy Liljegren.
right?
Yes, this is the second time I brought up Timothy Liljegren
Yes,
because I'm still so sad. I think
yeah.
I get more sad every day about it because it's like, oh, what do the Leafs lead right now? A top 4 right-hand shot defenseman. What did they give away for almost for free? Or almost for free this year?
Yep.
Exactly that.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, to finish off with that question, I mean, I don't. I like to think every year my rankings get less biased based on what other people have out there. I mean, I look at my
Maybe
list now.
influenced.
Yeah, influenced. Like, I have a guy for North American skaters that's 22nd in Central Scouting and ranked 24th on average at 7. And Ben Kindle's at 9 for me. And on average he's at 16 or 27. Sorry, 28. Um, it's just I'm putting my money kind of where my mouth is now, and I kind of just go, yeah, like at the end of the day, like you pick who you like, and if it doesn't work out, then you reflect and think about it. But we'll see. Time always heals everything, or whatever. Time shows everything. Uh, who are your top 5 personal favorite players to watch in the OHL? So, I mean, Schaefer, Misa, Martone, that's easy. And then I
Misa,
would
but the other one.
I love Harry Nancy. I think Harry Nancy's a great one. I think he's a really underrated player in that league. Um,
Do you love watching Zane Perek?
yeah, I'd say Zane Parek as well. I wasn't sure if it was specific to the draft, but regardless,
Doesn't
I'd
it
say Zane
doesn't
Parek could be
I don't
part
I
of that
don't think
list.
so. I don't think it's specific to the draft. I think
Uh, I'll throw a dark horse out there. Max Nemesnikov. I love watching Max Nemesnikov in the OHL. That kid is electric, going back to his Sarnia Sting days. But that's another one that comes to mind. Um, but yeah, there's a lot of good ones. The OHL's fun these days. There was Brad Lambert, then Alphonse Frey and Teddy Stiga. Who's the guy going late first, early second you have near the top of your board this year? I mean, for me, that's Colin Potter, Ben Kindle, even Braden Coots. Like, I have Braden Coots at 10. I didn't realize he was that high anymore. But he's on average 23, 21st in North America for Central Scouting. I have Cam Reed at 15. That's a little higher than average. Bill Zonin I have in the teens. That's a lot higher than average. Eric Nilsson is a guy that I have ranked pretty high. And I think people are catching on a little more there. And he might be one that's a little bit less of a hot take. But for me, I mean, I have Cullen Potter right up there and Ben Kindle right up there. I think those guys are great. Nigel Dawes is a deep cut. That's a good one for underrated NHL players that didn't get their shake. Will Victor Plante be the best Plante? I mean, of all the Plantes that have come along, I think he's the one I've liked the most. Victor Plante for next year's draft. I've really, really liked him. And I think there's a chance that he's a really, really good one for next year.
so. I do think we have to speed up because there's still a lot of questions
Oh, okay.
about halfway through the chat.
Oh, sick.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's get through this then. Someone mentions it's Ivan Famine as an answer to that question. I mean, yeah, Ivan Famine's definitely going to be a team scouting guy, but it probably will be with the 7th round pick because he'll be there, and I love Ivan Famine. How do you see Quentin Musty translating to the National Hockey League? Decently well. He's a physical enough guy. He moves well. He's really skilled. He's got all the tools necessary to make it work. I really, really like him. Not a prospect question, but do you think Rempe will ever win a fight in the NHL? Probably. I mean, he's
Yeah.
going to keep trying. He's going to keep trying his hardest.
He won to
Um,
fight.
I mean, it depends on what you mean by one. I don't know. I don't have an encyclopedic knowledge of all of his fights. There's been too many of them already.
Fair enough.
Anyway, Capo Caco's on a 70-point pace with the Kraken. Do you think he can sustain it? Probably not, but I mean, I could see him. We watched him. I could see him being a useful 50-point guy for
Yeah,
that team.
that's what I was gonna say.
You
50
know?
points seems
Yeah.
maybe
Do we
60.
still like? Do we still like Thomas Harley?
Yes.
I mean, yeah,
How can we
yeah.
not?
I mean, if Thomas Harley is on the block, then I'm going after
I
it.
still love Tom.
Yeah, he's on pace for a 40-point season. I think his game has come a long way since he was drafted. Like, I really like Thomas Harley. I do. Brady Martin thoughts on a bad team. I don't really see it with Brady Martin, honestly. Like, I
Even
again,
out.
it's like, yeah, I know, but like, I see him getting a shot in the NHL, but I've seen a bunch of them because it's one of those things where it's like, I don't see what other people are seeing, so I'm going to check again. Okay, I still feel pretty confident about where I have him, and then I go back and do the same thing again. Like, I just think he's more of one of the pack, a little further back. Physical tools are good. You know, he's physical enough. He's got some level of finishing ability, but like, I don't really trust his transition game. I don't know if I trust the pace of his game translating super well right now. I just feel like he's got, if anything, just as far away to go to be an impactful NHL player as quite a few other guys in those sort of later parts of the first round, early second round. That's kind of where I come down on him. Forgive me if it's been asked before, but what skills do you most confidently feel will project from minor league play to the NHL? Would you prefer to stamp a player's offensive or defensive upside? I would say I don't really think about offense or defense in general. I kind of think about the pace at which players play the game. So I prefer if guys have a lot of speed and a lot of intensity on both sides of the puck. But in my work, generally, the trend is that defense is a lot murkier and team oriented than it is offense. And there's a lot more correlation between individual output and overall results in the offensive direction.
Yeah.
So I focus a lot more on guys who can push things offensively, right? Like the best, it's who's the soccer manager who's like the gegenpressor guy, where it's like the best defense is a good offense, right? Like you're just always trying to push things offensively.
Talking
Um, it's yeah, Jurgen
guy.
Klopp, I think, is the guy. Yeah. But like that's the kind of approach that I always take, right? It's why I love a guy like Teddy Stiga so much, or Brad Lambert. It's like you can see that these guys can get the puck, move it, push guys onto their heels, and really challenge NHL style defensemen. Like that's what I'm looking for. And with defensemen, I'm looking for guys who can do the same thing, but like stopping guys like that. They can use mobility and stop guys, turn the puck around, quickly identify options, and get pucks moving in the offensive direction. Like that's what I'm most interested in. Because at the end of the day, like if you can shoot the puck really well, that's great. But like, how do you get the puck there? Like that, how do you get into that situation is really important to me. Thoughts on Nathan Quinn? I like him. He's not ranked on my list, but I like how smart he is. He's a creative guy. I haven't seen him in a while, but again, like I think for a little bit of an undersized player like him, if I'm not mistaken, he's a little small. The bar's really high, and I haven't seen him in the queue like be that guy that alleviates a lot of that for me. He's an interesting player though. I haven't seen him in a while, so I'll have to check back in on him. How far do you think Ryabkin will fall in the draft? And do you have any hope he'll translate into a top six forward? I feel like if anything, he's more likely to be a rambunctious bottom six guy right now as he is, but that's not a bad thing. Like he's a real jerk. He's already been suspended in the USHL, so there's that. But I don't really want to give you an answer because I'm not confident really at all, because there could be a team that still picks him really high and they just go, you know what? He had a terrible season. We interviewed him. We like him. He's a pest. He's got some nice physical tools and we can work with that. I wouldn't do that personally, but I can understand why a team would. Like, it's kind of like, I don't think there's a right or wrong answer right now. I mean, at least not right now. In 5 or 10 years, you could look back and go, ugh, what was that team thinking? Or you could also go, wow, what a great pull that was, right? Like, I think we're still in that uncertainty. Thoughts on Russians for 2026? Yeah, the Fyodorov guy you mentioned is pretty good. Let me just pull up my temporary thing here for next season. For Russians, yeah, Viktor Fyodorov is the guy that I've really liked. He's the only one I have on the watch list. Oh, Leonid Sokol in Yaroslavl is another guy that I've liked. But those are the only ones right now. So anyway, how do you see McGroarty's development from here? For a guy who stood his ground to stick in the NHL, his AHL stats are surely average. I mean, this is always what I've felt was there with McGroarty, right? Like he was in my second round in the draft that year. Like I thought he was a good complementary offensive guy. And I thought the Winnipeg Jets were right to sort of push back a little bit, going like, well, we don't want to put you in the NHL yet because we don't think you're ready. To me, I think that this is kind of the development path he should have been on in the first place. I think it's too early to label him anything, but I say you take your time from here, and I hope that this is a situation where Pittsburgh can kind of go, yeah, you're staying here until you can sort of find that offensive tool set at this level, and then we'll talk. Speaking of MSU, thoughts on Charlie Stramel? I really like Charlie Stramel, big physical guy. I thought it was interesting that Minnesota took him, but he seems to have really picked up an interesting style of play with Michigan State this year. Obviously, Wisconsin, I don't think was a very good fit. I mean, Wisconsin, it's just like everybody who seems to go there struggles in some way, especially if they're like highly regarded. Like Logan Hensler's not having the best season either there. But I think he's fit in really well at Michigan State with guys like Van Sagi on the team. Just a really, really strong guy with some really good moments of skill. And another reason why I look at guys and I try to watch them in isolation and not just like write them off because, points, right? When I watched him with Wisconsin, I did see a player that, he reminded me of like a Jordan Greenway, where it's like he moves, he can hit, he can be a complimentary sort of physical dude and get the job done. Is he a long way away from that? Potentially, but I thought he was pretty decent in that potential role. It's on the way. Would I have drafted him where he went? Maybe a little, maybe not, but I thought it was an interesting pick when Minnesota pulled him, and maybe they got something out of him. Is there a world where Demidov's game doesn't translate to the NHL, or is he in your eye a can't miss guy? I would be very surprised if he didn't work out in the NHL. Like just the creativity and the skill set. I think his game has improved this year. I think he's really working in the sort of limits of his game really well. But as long as he gets a little quicker, then it's game over. Like he's got so much on the table here for him.
There's a reason we were calling him the demigod.
Yes.
2 years before he was drafted.
Yeah. I agree. Jake O'Brien is also a slick player. He's a fun one. Who would you rather have, Nikishin, Simashev, or Dickinson? You might kill me, but Simashev. I think Simashev. I love Dmitry Simashev. Well, I mean, Sam Dickinson.
No, Simashev, I mean, I'm saying that because it's a hot take, not because I disagree with you, because it's a hot take.
I just think of all of the defensemen I've ever seen in my years of doing this, Simashev is the most intriguing package of tools and everything and defensive mind that I just love him. I love him to death. The skating, the physicality, the simpleness of his game. Obviously, the offense isn't there like a guy like Dickinson or even a Nikishin, but God, if you have a team full of Dmitry Simashevs, it's a wall. Like you're just not getting through that.
Honestly, I'd agree with you. Having seen all of them, I think Dickinson next, then Nikita. Not the biggest Nikita. I think
I agree.
He's just somehow scoring points in the KHL.
Yeah. Thoughts on Adam Jiricek this season? I mean, I still really like him. I thought for a guy who's played 6 games this year, I thought he played really well at the World Juniors. I'm still a fan. I'm keeping an eye on him. I really like him. He's coming along. What did you think of Noah Cates as a prospect? Oh, that's a throwback. I don't think I really remember seeing him. I feel like he was like a 2017 draft guy. 2017, actually. Bang on. I don't remember. So he was in high school then and played for Omaha for a little bit, but yeah, I don't have no recollection. Where do you think the Flyers should go with their 3 firsts if they keep them? Oh God, I don't know. Like,
and in the cookie jar everywhere. All right,
yeah.
Get something nice from each thing. Like you can get a good winger, you can get a good center, maybe.
Yeah,
you're lucky, and maybe a defense.
Someone mentions Václav Nestrasil round one. I want to, but I'm not there yet. But I love Nestrasil. I mean, he's grown on me as the years gone on. I think I mentioned him a couple of months ago as a guy where I was like, oh, I was watching this other guy, and Nestrasil kind of looks cool. But I like him. I like him a lot. I think there's a lot of real solid fundamentals. But I think that there's in the games I've seen of him, it's like he's lanky and tall, and really skilled, but like the actual like push into the offensive zone and actually like the confidence and the all of that at 5-on-5 just hasn't been there yet for me. But it could be. It certainly could be. I'm a big fan because he's big. Get it? Frondell trending up again. We'll see. I don't know. I honestly, I still don't know what to think of Anton Frondell, and I know I'm not the only one. You guys and everyone who you've had on the show wakes up tomorrow chased by an army of 7-year-olds hell-bent on your total annihilation. Oh boy.
Whoa.
Who dies first and last, and who gets the highest kill count? So we're killing children now. I shouldn't have said that. Well,
this is awesome. This is a hilarious question.
I mean, Tony dies first because he's
Tony
slow.
dies first? He's slow?
Probably. I don't know.
I feel like Sam
Actually,
dies
I know he
first.
goes to the gym. Yeah, Sam probably dies first
because he doesn't realize what's going on and then it happens.
Yeah, he tries to reason with them first.
I think I'm probably I'm gonna go out on a limb and say I'm the fastest.
Yeah, I'm a medium distance runner. I'm not a sprinter. So if these kids can run fast, I'm toast. But if they run fast briefly, I might be able to escape. You know, like what was it? The prehistoric humans used to run for long distances to tire out certain animals, and they would just pass out, and then they would just walk up to them and stab them and kill them. Anyway, that was me 600,000 years ago. Yeah, but like, who dies last? Yeah,
I would have the lowest kill.
You're also thin. You got the aerodynamics.
Yes.
You're yeah.
I
so
move.
You might cut through the air.
It's actually hilarious. So I was walking on the treadmill today, just because I didn't want to walk outside because my power walk is 4.5 miles an hour, something like that. Like that was no, it's a mile. Sorry, it's a mile an hour. Mile an hour walking, which is pretty nuts.
Right.
Either way, it was on a decently high setting. I know I'm a fast walker though, because every time I start walking by myself in the city of Toronto, I pass literally everybody and blow right through them, and sometimes accidentally hit them with my bag. So if I've done that to you, I'm sorry. And you see a guy who's like got his head jutted out with like basically using Bernoulli's principle to propel himself forward in downtown Toronto, it's me.
We got a Bernoulli's principle reference. That's a good one.
And maybe it's not 1 mile an hour. Oh, you know what? Sorry, it was 4.5 miles an hour. 4.5 miles an hour. That's what it was. I
was going to say 1 mile an hour.
No. It was 4.5 miles an hour.
Yeah. Okay. Schaefer, easy number one pick. No one fills the net like him, even if it's at the post. He's filling with his face. Yes, I agree. Yeah, you can't score on him if he's in the net the whole time. What does Radim Murtka bring to the table? I think there's a lot of really interesting tools with Murtka. He's obviously huge. He plays a pretty physical game as well. I think he's a really smart defenseman with his stick checks and a lot of really interesting defensive tools. And I think the passing, he's got a few moments where he sort of sees secondary and tertiary options, and really clean passes to those options are really nice to see. So I think long term, I think he could develop into a pretty impressive defenseman. I just don't know, like, there's still there's a je ne sais quoi with him where I'm not totally sold. I'm not totally sold yet. Yeah, he's a bit of a mystery box.
Je ne sais quoi really mean mystery box.
Yeah, pretty much. What is Brad Lambert to project to at this point? Same, like middle six center, I think. Come on, give him the 2C. I thought he looked pretty good in the games he played for Winnipeg this year. I don't really care that much about the AHL team. I know they're worse than they were last year, I think. But I don't know. Every time I see Lambert in the NHL, I go, if this were Montreal, I feel like he'd be on the Montreal Canadiens, right? Like I feel like if
Hmm?
he were
What
in,
they need. What they
yeah,
need.
yeah. Like if Montreal had picked him instead of a Philip Machar, I feel like he'd be on the Montreal Canadiens like today, every night, and be pretty good. So time will tell, but I'm playing the long game with him. Who would you rather have, Dvorsky, Jaeger, or Danielson? Probably Jaeger.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah,
Not huge
Jaeger.
on it.
Yeah, Jaeger can make plays. He's a good, smart guy at the middle of the ice. The other two, I have doubts. Will McDavid go play in Kazakhstan for 3 games? No, I actually can confirm here he's going to actually go and play for Kunlun Red Star for 3 games. Actually, just one. That's all the time he has for. But he just loves hockey so much he can't stay away. He signed a 1-day contract with Kunlun Red Star. He's headed over there tonight.
Breaking news.
AJ was on edibles when he ranked Sell at 1 per sources.
I actually, you know
will
what's
not confirm or deny.
no, you know what's funny? I didn't smoke weed back then. I legitimately did not. It was only after I started doing that.
Right. Oh my God, Matthews just tried a Michigan and it almost worked. That was sick.
He'll never
Bonsoir,
score one of
Will.
those.
Jeremy, I apologize. Someone asked about Will Horkoff earlier. I said I had a game pulled of him. I have not seen it yet, so you can tune into the show whenever you want on Thursday. I will be sure to cover Will Horkoff at some point in that show. But he's not my favorite big boy from the NTDP, but I know he's gotten some decent production and stuff with Michigan. Oh my goodness, yeah. Guelph's alternates, are they better than PG Prince George's SpongeBob SquarePants jerseys? Yeah, those might be my least favorite jerseys of all time. I had to track a game and I picked my games at random, and it was one of the, I think it was a Parasac game. So already I wasn't a huge fan of the player at the moment. And then they were wearing the SpongeBob jerseys, which were impossible to read. So that just was not a fun hour period of my life. But I mean, I thought Parasac played okay in that game. I remember that. You don't forget those jerseys, that's for sure. Yeah, and Regina had those too. Do you think Winnipeg will move Lambert or Chibrikov? I hope not. I don't think they should,
No,
unless they're getting something really good in
I
return.
don't think so. I think they're pretty patient.
Yeah. Someone mentioning Papanekas. Yeah, I like Papanekas. I haven't seen him in a while, but I've got to check back in. I thought it was okay. With Canada, US, Sweden, and Finland dominating international play and prospect development, do you see any other countries realistically entering that top 4 long term besides Russia? I mean, Czech Republic internationally at the junior level seems to be making waves quite often. I mean, especially relative to like Finland. Finland and their youth right now is down pretty bad, and the Czechs I think are doing a really good job. I don't know what it is they're doing, but it's working. They drafted
Repeat,
2
Canada.
Russians. Oh, they drafted 2 Russians, right? They drafted Obvintsev, right? The Leafs also drafted Timofey Obvintsev. Melvin Novotny fan? Yes, I am. I'm not as big a fan of Tone as Tony is. Tony is off his rocker a little bit, but that's okay. But I like him. He's really slick, really creative, got some good speed to his game. I like him. He's a good player. He'll probably be drafted too late. wrong, wrong pipe. What do you think the CHL NCAA recruitment merger does for the junior A hockey in Canada, U Sports, and the USHL? Well, nothing good.
Hurts them. Hurts them.
It hurts. It definitely hurts junior A. I think the USHL long term might be okay. U Sports, I mean, U Sports already wasn't like a super high priority for anyone really. So I don't know how much worse it would get, but it's not going to be awesome, I don't think.
Already isn't having
Yeah, it already
having had
is
to having had to cover it as as part of my curriculum when I was in school.
Yeah.
Nope. Literally had to work those games at U of T for free. Not even get people to really cover that.
Right. Yeah, no. But I mean, Canadian Junior A, that's gonna be really, really tough. That's gonna be tough.
Yeah, that's who it hurts the most.
Yeah.
AHL,
That's who it hurts the
BC,
most. Yep. Yep.
AJ.
Yep. Thoughts on Yegor Shilov in the USHL, and another name to, you're all over me. This with this every. Oh, he's a 2008. Um, why does this feel recognizable? Anyway,
The link purple.
no, but I feel like I've seen Green Bay before, and this rings a bell. But I'm not going to lie and say I know who this is. So I'll put him on the list, and we'll take a look. Any reason to believe in Philip Ekberg? Club stats are not impressing, and he hasn't looked impressive for Sweden. Yeah, I mean, I actually watched him today. I think he's almost solid, but there's a like, again, it goes back to like 5 years ago. I might have really liked him and gone, yeah, the skill level and everything, it's there. It's just you have to give him time, blah blah blah. And now I'm older and I've had more experience, and I kind of look at it and go, yeah, he's smart. He's got some quick hands here and there, but guys don't generally take gigantic leaps from here. They kind of have similar styles of play and take steps, but other guys do too. And I'm not sure he's ever going to be the best guy on my list. And when I've seen him play for Sweden, yeah, he hasn't been the best player on those teams. And I feel like even then, like, there are guys in other countries that people aren't really looking at or talking about that are also kind of undersized scoring guys like Ekberg that I like more. Guys like Sverchek, or in Slovakia, Jakub Dubrovic is another undersized guy who I've liked at that level a little bit more than Ekberg at this point, honestly. And I don't know, we'll see. But he may get picked, I would say, but we'll see. Maybe the Flyers can get a guy like Zeev Buyamo.
Be tough. But they have Jimmy Drysdale. Jimmy Drysdale's really good.
They do.
So,
and the next comment, he's looked extremely good since getting healthy. I mean,
exactly.
Yeah, he's
Great.
always been, the potential's always been there.
I love him. I'm actually.
Yeah.
I know I said kind of this sentiment earlier, but I want to just double down on it. One of my favorite young defensemen. A whole lot of fun.
Yeah.
Well, what's catching your glaze? Or sorry, your glance, not glaze.
They played a replay of the lacrosse goal. It was very close.
Attempt.
Have you thought of Blake Montgomery this season? Yeah, I actually was asked about him by a friend of the show, Centennial Matt, and I actually checked him out. And I mean, he's an 05 who is gigantic, playing for one of the best teams in the CHL. Like, he's a power forward through and through. He's big. He's pretty fast. He goes, man. Like, he's that prototype power winger, and he's been good. We'll see what happens. I mean, for me, it's like if he's good in the OHL, like, it's kind of expected because he's bigger and older and stronger than the majority of the league. So we'll see. But he's been good. Who's the favorite going to the U18s? Probably Canada, but it really depends on the CHL playoffs, like who gets eliminated when or who doesn't make it. But I still think it might be Canada. Someone mentions Josh Hosang's rap album. That was a banger. That's true.
Sam Dickinson, boom or doom. I actually don't think it's boom or doom. I think he's just gonna be fine.
Right. Yeah. Thoughts on Carter Yakimchuk this year? Well, I mean, when I've seen him, I still think he's Carter Yakimchuk. There's still some heart attacks, but there are still some good offensive zone moments. I actually saw someone send me, I think it was Brian Stewart, who said that Toronto Maple Leafs Mr. Irrelevant pick from last year, Nathan Mays, has as many even strength points as Carter Yakimchuk does. Which I don't know if that's true anymore. Yeah, they play in the WHL. So there's that. I don't know, but I don't know. He's still Carter Yakimchuk to me. Like, I wouldn't have drafted him in the top 10. But he's fine as an offensive zone focused defenseman and with some decent physical tools. Yeah, sure. But yeah, nothing has changed my mind really on that. Having Max Nemestikov and Lev Katzin on the same team is fun. I've seen that team a bunch now, and yes, it's true. Who is the Hellenius of this draft? Mature, 200-foot, very one-dimensional offensively. Let's see. What do we got here? I mean, maybe Frondell, I would say. Frondell, or
the higher end than Hellenius, would you say?
I'd say they're similar-ish. Okay. I think he might, ish. Like, in a different kind of way, maybe Braden Coots. Like, Coots is faster and more skilled and just a higher octane guy, but I think he's a good 200-foot player. He is fun, but I mean, like in terms of offensive output, like he is a little bit limited right now, but I don't think it's the end of the world. Just like how with Hellenius last year, it's like I think he was a little bit limited, but it wasn't the end of the world. Do you think that there are certain NHL scouts who simply go on points? No, I don't. I don't think so. I do think that production biases people, but I don't think they just like sort by points. If anything, they do the opposite.
Probably online scouts who,
Yes, there's a lot of online people who probably do that,
and I don't
but
mean I don't mean people who write for outlets. I mean people just points.
right. Um, but yeah, I think I mean, I do know that some NHL teams really rely on central scouting past a certain point in the draft, and they just go, "All right, we don't know really who we like in the 6th round. Who does central scouting like that's still there?" And they just go. But you know, I don't think people do what you're asking. Who are some AHL guys that should be in the NHL that should be traded to a lesser organization for a shot?
Billy
Well,
Hainela.
uh, Fabian Lysell.
Yeah, but he's gonna get his shot.
Yeah,
But
Fabian Lysell.
I think Winnipeg's either got to play Billy Hainela at this.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, Billy Hanel is a good one. Um, I'm just getting to the AHL
Hopi
stats here.
Niemela, but
I don't think he's NHL ready.
oh, okay.
Um,
What about Miko
I,
Kogo? You've liked Miko.
I like Miko.
Pass.
I like Miko Kokkonen. I think he's kind of neat. But
Maybe bring him up because Sam was not
maybe.
He's gone back to being Anaheim Ducks side.
Um, I'm just looking through here, guys, and blah, 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 blah. I mean, I don't think there are that many. Like maybe Scott Morrow. Like Morrow, I don't know when he's going to crack the lineup in Carolina,
Brent
but he's
Burns
doing well this
retires, and
year. Yeah, maybe when Brent Burns retires, when he finally starts cashing Social Security checks.
so crazy to me, Brent Burns.
I
Like
know.
he's not that he's bad. It's just been around forever.
Yeah, yeah. Dylan Duke, maybe. I like Dylan Duke a lot, and he hasn't been called up. I'd maybe give him a go.
He'll get called up. Called
Yeah,
up.
at some point he will.
Tampa.
They like him. I think they like him.
Yeah. Tampa's actually got
Um,
not bad for.
yeah, they've done pretty good. Okay. Oh, Simashev is apparently going to be playing in Utah as soon as this spring. Well, that
Yeah,
would be
that's
lovely.
not surprising.
Yeah, Simashev or Reinbacher?
Simashev.
Simashev. Yeah, Simashev. I like Reinbacher though, but Simashev. Make a couple of realistic JT Miller trades. Oh God.
Ooh. Like
So
what? Honestly, Keandre Miller going with like, I guess a Filipino and a first.
boy, that blows a huge hole in their defense, though.
Yeah, but what? But that's
I know.
you need to give up something. You need to give up
Yeah, you're not.
something.
Yeah, and I doubt they want to give up Braden Schneider. I don't know
Like that to me feels realistic. Maybe
because
something.
Vancouver doesn't want futures. Like they don't want
Yeah, but
to
you can
punt.
trade off you get
Yeah,
a future and then trade that future
yeah.
something now. Like
But
need
when does that
assets.
happen though? Like I feel like that gets talked about all the time. Like this team can get a first round pick that they then go and flip. Like it doesn't happen that
It
often.
happened. Tampa Bay Lightning. Actually, Tampa Bay Lightning getting pick for JT Miller that they then traded for Blake Coleman
Oh,
2020.
all right.
I think
But
that was one of the
I mean, if it's gonna be the Rangers, like
'cause Carolina could put together a package.
yeah, yeah, and like, what are you giving up?
It's
Like,
hard to do a one for a hockey.
like Kotkaniemi and and a guy in the minors, like
But even
who's ready to.
then,
I
like
know
Scott
exactly.
Morrow, to
Like JT
Vancouver.
Miller is really good.
Yeah, he's an elite player.
He's a really good
This
hockey
is an
player. So
elite
like,
player, and it's
yeah,
actually
like I don't
ridiculous
know.
that they're going down
Like,
this road.
yeah, I honestly like I keep flipping through all these rosters and I just can't figure out like Dawson Mercer from New Jersey,
That I could see.
maybe Dawson Mercer and Simon Nemec or something, and you send
Yeah,
Miller
yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
like something like that. Maybe I don't know because Vancouver could use a defenseman. You know, it
Really
would
use
help.
a defense.
Yeah. All right.
Get Quinn
What is
Hughes help.
yeah,
Get him multiple help.
yeah. What is your opinion of the discontinued Columbus Blue Jackets mascot Boomer? I think he needs to come back
Bring Boomer
because
back.
Boomer is one of the best. I just looked him up and I remember him now. If you're unfamiliar with who Boomer is, there's your picture.
Boomer's
I
awesome,
think
and
that's
their
just
current
awesome.
mascot's awful.
Yeah, yeah. Boomer rocks. I love Reshny, but I see the issues. Where do you see him stalling out? 20 to 40 ish. Yeah, that's where I have him. Reshny, I have him at 22. Like I'm optimistic because I love the work rate he has and the creativity and the playmaking ability that he has. Like there's a lot to love with Reshny. But I do admit he's a bit of a long shot. Like he's going to need to gain a step or two of quickness that isn't quite there right now. But I love him. I think he's just so smart, moves the puck so well, works so hard. There's nothing that I would really be, too critical of with his game. It's just there might be natural limitations that are issues. Um, the Blackhawks will likely have a top 4 pick. If they want to draft a forward, why would they draft Hagens, giving them 3, 5, 10 players in their top 6?
Because who
Because Hagens
cares?
is Hagens is gross. Like you draft Hagens because he's like you have a 1-2 punch. Like and Nazar plays much bigger than he is. Like, is he still listed at 5'10"? Because he doesn't play like it. Like again, like I don't care how big you are. Yeah, he's listed at 5'9". Jeez. Um,
Hey, I'm taller than him. Let's go.
yeah. But like I and also like there's no guarantee that they're all gonna play center. And like there's no guarantee that Nazar is gonna be a long-term thing. Like you don't really know. Like, what are you gonna do? Are you gonna forego drafting James Hagens to do what? Like,
Or Michael
because
Misa.
yeah, like Michael Meese is not that much bigger, I don't think. Like, yeah, he's 6'1". Like we're splitting hairs over 2-3 inches, maybe. I don't know. I mean, if you want Misa, you take Misa. But if you're passing on Hagens because you already have Connor Bedard and Frank Nazar, and you don't want to be too small, like you've got tons of draft picks who are big. They've drafted a lot of big guys too, Rinzel and Levchinov.
Levchinov.
Like they also have Oliver Moore, who's also a little small, but I don't really care. Like it doesn't like to me, it doesn't matter. Like you to me, you don't pass on a James Hagens, um, if he's there. I don't know. I just think that he's so a clear cut above like the other guys that I think I would have enough faith in to maybe put in the same conversation is like maybe Porter Martone, but I still think Chicago could use a center or something, or at least something that is maybe an option to maybe move Bedard to the wing, maybe, and just let him sort of be an offensive guy. But I don't know. I think that you kind of get yourself twisted in knots a little bit when you look at your pipeline and go, maybe we skip out on this guy because we don't want to be too small. It's like you can always fix that later.
My defense group like a word.
Right.
I think I don't know that I have a defenseman taller than 6.
Well, yeah. I mean,
I have Lane Hudson though. I'll take it.
you'll win every game 9-7.
Yes.
You still win. Would you trade a first round pick in the 20 to 32 range in 2025 for Brad Lambert? Yeah, probably. It was Mays that had a higher rate of even strength points per game than Yakimchuk, but it was barely. Yes, that's fair. That's more understandable. But the fact that it's comparable is the funny bit to me. That's the funny thing. French guy here. Give me your best shot at pronouncing the name Jean-Sébastien Giguère. Jean-Sébastien Giguère. Getting Giguère with it. Giguère. Jean-Sébastien Giguère. One of the most underrated goalies of all time. I agree. He was great. That honestly, I remember that playoff run he went on where he won the Conn Smythe Trophy and lost, and that was the saddest picture ever taken in hockey history. I remember that, and it was a glorious, glorious run from him. That was unbelievable. Never forget it.
Will Gutman.
That's a guy.
Oh,
Do you think Jet Luchenko making the Flyers next season for a full season would be rushing him and hurting his offensive development? I mean, I don't think there's any rush to put him in the NHL. He's extremely young. Like a cup of coffee and see what he can do. Yeah, like it doesn't hurt to give him a few games and see what he can do. But I don't think another year in junior is the end of the world. But I mean, I think he also is a good example of like why 2 years in junior for a guy like that might not be necessary, but it's required because he's Canadian. I mean, I don't know what the CBA is going to look like in the near future, but I think it is pretty crazy that only CHL players can like play in the only CHL players can't play in the AHL. They have to go back to the CHL. But if you're European, you can go straight to the AHL.
well, they'll be able to go to
right
college
away.
now.
Well, yeah, you can go to college now, but like we'll see. You know, we'll see what happens. But I agree. I mean, we'll see if the CBA changes anything about rookies or anything. Okay, last question of the night. With this draft being considered weak, do you value moving up for talent or back for multiple swings? Always, always, always back for multiple swings. I think you're right. I think this draft is stacked full of guys that I would be happy to just take swings on.
Hmm.
You know, give me a Will Bell, give me a Michael Sverchek, give me a Gustav Hillstrom, give me a Ben Keevan, give me an Arvid Drott, an Eric Nilsson. You know, I'd rather take, instead of maybe a bet on a Malcolm Spence, I would take 3 swings at 3 other guys. I mean, I like Malcolm Spence, but you know what I mean.
Also, who would win in a fight? Me and Frank Nazar? It's not me. It's not me.
Yeah, no, it's not you.
And
yeah, no,
we
you're a
appreciate.
runner, not a fighter. You run away from the fight.
Yeah, I think that's why I don't have very much success with women, because I think they look at my build and they go, "Oh, that guy's gonna run away, not protect me." And they're right. They're 100% right. Self-preservation over everything.
All right, we can say that. We could leave it at that.
I think it's funny. I'm okay putting that.
Well, on that note, I think that's going to be it for the evening. Thank you again for joining us. This was really great. Again, all your questions were lovely and very well
and your
accepted.
kind words.
Yes. If you have any follow-ups or anything you'd like to chat about, just put it in the comments or DM me or whatever. Whoever it was, Buttery Spread, that gets your free subscription, find a way to contact me, and we'll set you up with an account because you did good.
Yeah. I was off my meds. Congratulations. you pay attention to me.
Could you tell?
I don't know. I felt like I became more of myself towards the end of it.
Yeah.
But leading up into it, I felt like a zombie.
It's okay. Well, I'm glad we could drag you out of your zombie nightmare for a moment. Before we go, obviously, we're brought to you by Fanatics. You can use our link in the description or our link in the chat or scan the QR code in the video window, and you will give us a small kickback on anything you buy in the shop from there. You can also check us out or help us out at puckpreps.com, where you can get a subscription that gives you access to all of our NCAA and CHL prospect chatter. There's lots of stuff going on over there. Plenty of fun tournaments that I know Jordan Millette is at one, or watching a bunch of one right now. So you can look forward to his work coming out of there. And of course, Scouching.ca, where a subscription will get you access to our Discord server, as well as plenty of other fun goodies like our drafted prospect tracker, our 2025 draft tracker, our archive of track data from years and years ago, and plenty of other cool stuff you can check out at Scouching.ca. So check that all out. And thank you very much for joining us. We'll see you Thursday at 2 p.m.
Yes.
And that's it for me.
Yeah, go Leafs go. And also the last thing, saying I'm totally normal without the meds. You're not seeing my face right now. That's why you don't know. When I get my camera, I'm going to do this year, like I said. Because I think the Canada Post strike is now done.
It is.
Okay, so I'll go order that. Hopefully have it for my facial expression would maybe show you a difference. But anyways, the Leafs are winning. Go Leafs go. Yeah, they're still winning, but it's close now.
Yes.
All right. Good night, everybody. Ciao, ciao.